And today, it is indeed a great honor for me to welcome our sitting judge, Chris Morales, Judge of County Court at Law No.1, Fort Bend County. But before I take Mr. Morales on air and interview him, I would like to say that one thing, Judge, that I always liked starting these interviews is talking about the importance of voting. And I read this, that nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves. And the only way they could do is by not voting. Good morning and welcome to Radio Tabang.
Thank you for having me. I could not agree with that statement
Yes.
anymore. I mean, it is accurate. We need people to go vote.
Yes.
It's sad in many ways because if you look across the nation, voting numbers seem to be reducing. Yet
True.
registered voters seem to be increasing.
Yes.
Voter apathy exists in this country, in this state, and in this county as well.
Right.
If you want your voice to be heard, if you truly want to have a say in how your government is run,
Yes.
you have to vote.
True. I believe that you lose the right to complain when you do not become the part of that change. Why are you not voting, but then complaining?
You know, I will say yes. I think every person has a right to speak and complain about issues that exist in this country, whether they vote or not. But I think if you're complaining and you're not voting, you're doing nothing to help change this world, this country, this county.
Absolutely. So I was reading, and we had an interview. We had an opportunity to speak with you over on the phone on Friday. Such well decorated. I was reading that you were first elected in 2014, then re-elected, and now 2022. So the way I see it, it's like the position that you are at. Number one, I would like our listeners to know the importance of your position. Secondly, it is almost like a marriage. You work on it every single day, every single year, years after year, and you're not giving up. I love the loyalty. I love that how you devoted you are in this, and this shows your credibility. And then one thing that we can always depend on you, we can trust you because you're not going anywhere.
Well, thank you. That's an excellent way to put it. It's like a marriage, and you have to work on it year after year, day after day. In fact, I always joke that I have my family at home and I have my work family as well. And in many ways, I spend more time with my work family than my family at home.
True. I couldn't agree more. I've been working in this for so many years. It requires commitment day after day. And also knowing the fact that you are not only dealing with this position, you're dealing with the lives of the people, that you have kind of a way that you can impact them. And I was looking into things that you have done and added and actually made it better for the county. So first of all, before we go into details of everything that you have done, it is impossible to get it all in this few minutes. But tell me, Judge, your position and why it is important for our listeners to vote for you.
I'd be happy to. You know, I always like to say that local elections impact the average person in the county more than any congressman, any national level position, and a lot of state level positions as well.
True.
We truly impact you on a daily basis.
True.
And let me kind of expand upon that if I can, and how we impact you on a daily basis. So let's look at, I'm going to start with the very basic things such as court efficiency.
Yes.
Now, I'm a general jurisdiction court. I touched on that on Friday. I deal with a lot of different things, 7 different jurisdictions of the law. I always like to say, like I said on Friday, I pretty much do everything but family law. So when you go into the court, it may not be a criminal case, it may not be a juvenile case, but it could be a probate guardianship case.
Yeah.
Let's say a loved one passes away and you need to probate their will. Would you prefer to have a court where you can have that will heard within 45 days or less? or would you rather go to a court that takes you 6 months
Oh,
to
yeah.
have that will heard?
Yeah.
You know, when you're probating the will of a loved one, it's a difficult time.
It is. You're grieving. And
Absolutely.
You're going through so much.
Absolutely. And it's my belief that I need to make the process as efficient
Yes.
and painless as possible.
True. True.
And so a lot of courts that exist now, they may take months on end before you can have that heard. And to me, that extends that grieving process, because in many ways, probating that will can help bring closure to that person.
Yes, it is very important. It is very important. With that, brings me to a question of how you introduced the technology and how it expedited everything, or maybe making things right the right time. Because sometimes having those litigations getting delayed, or having those court hearings getting delayed, or backlog, and all these things. How did you bringing this technology idea to your courts made all the difference in Fort Bend County?
Do you mind if I touch on a little bit of my background, the way
Absolutely.
I ran? So I first started my legal career as a prosecutor at Fort Bend County DA's office. Then I moved on to a larger, well, I call it larger, it's a mid-sized firm in the area. It was a regional firm here to Texas. I didn't prosecute, I litigated cases all over the state. And then I opened up my own law firm in Richmond. Now, when I opened up my own law firm, I realized that I wanted to utilize certain technology in that firm. The mid-sized firm I was working for here in the Houston area, they were big on technology, big on being as paperless as possible.
Good.
And they had they actually had an IT guy that worked in the office full time. And so I got to know him quite well. And so I really got a lot of background on the IT side of law firms.
Wow.
And so when I opened up my law firm, I knew that I wanted to implement some of that new technology into that firm. In fact, I jumped on some new programs that were just coming on board. There's a lot of law practice management software out there now, but at the time, there was really only a handful of players out there. And I jumped on a new one at the time. It was called Rocket Matter. It allowed me to integrate pretty much everything in my law practice under one roof, under one piece of software. And it allowed me to go paperless. And most firms can't say that. I mean, back then.
No, it
at
takes
least.
maybe many trees a day in most of the firms.
Yes.
A lot of paper.
When I first came into my court coordinator, who has been with the court now for 33 years, in fact, she's retiring at the end of this year after 33 years in the court, but she used to say that the county loves to kill trees.
Yes, I'm telling you. And then shredding most of the papers.
Yes.
And you're like, oh.
So I knew that I wanted to bring some of that new technology into the courtroom. So one of the first things I did was said we're going paperless.
Right.
The Supreme Court had stated that on criminal cases, on civil cases, that law firms and the way we handle the things was going to be paperless. Everything was electronically filed. Well, we had software that was in place but not being utilized in the court system to allow us to work paperless. No longer handwriting docket entries.
Wow.
I can type my docket entry in. No longer having people hand me an order to physically sign, hand over to a clerk, which then she has to scan in, and then it's uploaded. It takes days to get that order up into the system. While if I electronically sign it in the system, within minutes, it's uploaded.
It's a game changer.
It is. But the second thing I did as well was I implemented video conferencing technology as well.
I want to talk about those
Absolutely.
Zoom calls.
Let's talk about that. So when I first took office, we had utilized in my law practice some video conferencing technology. I would meet with some of my clients via video conferencing. At the time, it was kind of revolutionary, new, and honestly, it wasn't that great, the technology at the time, but it was there. It was convenient. A lot of my clients just couldn't come into the office to meet with me, and I really needed to meet with them face to face to go over some paperwork. So we would meet via this video conferencing technology at the time, which was great. So I knew when I took office that we needed to implement this in some way, and I discovered a program called Court Call at the time. Court Call, it actually cost the court nothing to implement it. Because Court Call would provide all the technology, all the equipment that was needed. Now, there was a small fee associated to the lawyers to be able to utilize this technology. But the way I looked at it was, I want to bring this technology to the courtroom
Right.
as with as little cost to the taxpayers as possible, and this was the ideal setup. So what it did was allow the lawyers who practiced in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, who practiced all over the state, instead of making that 2, 3, 4 hour drive in some
Yeah.
cases down
Yeah.
to the Fort Bend County, they could just stay in their office
Right.
and zoom into the hearing. And a lot of times these hearings are only a few minutes long.
Yes,
So can
yes.
you imagine you're making a 4 hour drive or flying from Dallas to Houston for a 10-minute
10
hearing?
minute hearing. Yes.
It makes little to no sense.
Yes.
So a lot of these lawyers loved that technology that existed. And part of the court call, it's really is a misnomer because it allowed you to use video conferencing technology as well,
Yes.
not just a phone call.
Yes.
So I was able to see their face. The other litigants in the courtroom were able to see their face and
Right.
interact with them. It really was a game changer. Now, I'll be honest with you though, we didn't utilize it on a daily basis. It was used sparingly, I'd say.
Right.
Every month or so we'd use it a couple times, but it wasn't a daily occurrence, which I would have loved to have seen it become a daily occurrence, but it just wasn't there yet. Well, when the pandemic hit,
And then
and
did anyone come to you and say, you knew it was coming, you introduced, you warned us, you prepared us, we are prepared.
no one ever said that to me, that you knew it was coming. I mean, really and honestly, it's difficult for anybody to predict something like
Yes,
that.
that's true.
But let's face it, we have natural disasters in the
Yes.
Houston area all the time. Hurricanes come through and they shut down the courts for days. I remember when Hurricane Harvey hit.
Yes.
2 judges, myself and one other judge, could make it down to the courthouse.
Oh, wow.
I had to drive down every morning to do magistrate to ensure that these individual rights were
Yeah.
being met.
Yeah.
I was the only one that could make it to the courthouse
Wow.
to sign documents if needed be.
Yes.
It was difficult, but you know what? That technology right there helps in those situations. Those judges who could not make it down to the courthouse, if they had that technology in place,
Then,
they
yeah.
could have conducted remote hearings,
Very true.
possibly.
Very true.
So let me step back a little bit real quick and go back to when the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, obviously the courts got shut down immediately.
Right.
The Supreme Court basically put a stop to all hearings, all in-person hearings. And then they put an order in place that allowed us to conduct remote hearings. When that order was put in place, I immediately jumped on it.
Yep.
I knew that I could begin conducting hearings.
Yes.
And I immediately conducted a video conferencing hearing using Court Call at the time. And that was the first full video conferencing hearing where every litigant, even the judge, was remote.
Wow.
That had not taken place in Fort Bend County. Now, after that, the Supreme Court issued Zoom licenses to every judge in the state. I was one of the first, I
One
think,
to do
if
it.
I remember correctly, I was one of the first 30 judges in the entire state to jump on it.
Yeah.
Because I knew we needed that technology in the courtroom. Court call lacked in certain respects, and we needed better technology, and Zoom was the answer.
Yes.
And so I immediately started conducting hearings, as many as I possibly could, during the
wow.
height of the pandemic.
I can hear passion. Some people can see passion. I can hear passion. Although you're sitting in front of me and I can see it, but I can hear passion. And passion only comes when you are totally in alignment in what you do and what you enjoy to do and what you want to keep doing because it serves the purpose. And I see that 2014, 18, 2022, this seems like a purpose to you.
I love what I do. I love serving the citizens of Fort Bend County.
Yeah.
I find joy and a purpose in helping people and making a difference in my community and improving my community in some respects. If you really think about it, the court system lags behind traditional corporate world by 10 years and in many respects of just the world in general. I mean, I feel like we're dinosaurs in some ways.
True. Yeah.
And I feel like the little bit that I can do, the implementation of certain technology in the courtroom, the changing of procedures in the courtroom, the implementation of docket control orders when I took office as well to reduce trial times, I feel like those little things help improve my community.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, I'm always looking to improve.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I'm not gonna let you go without touching on misdemeanor mental health court. I'm not gonna let you go without discussing that.
I
My
had no
goodness,
doubt.
Lord, I love that. Bringing that human factor, bringing that factor that we do need this kind of service for our people who are behind bars, who are in prison, who are incarcerated. Tell me more about that too.
Sure. Well, let's start here. I did not create the misdemeanor mental health court. My predecessor, Judge Shoulders, created the misdemeanor mental health court. I was able to take it over when I took office on January 1st of 2015. I would like to think it has flourished and improved since I have been in office. I have made some changes to the misdemeanor mental health court that I think have made it a little more efficient and hopefully better for the litigants, for the defendants, I should say, that
True.
come before me.
Before. Yeah.
Let's talk about the purpose of the misdemeanor mental health court.
Yes.
The purpose behind it is to reduce recidivism rates, and basically that means that we just want to stop them from becoming repeat offenders.
Yeah.
And then also to reduce costs that are borne by the taxpayers by housing these individuals in the county
Yes.
jail. Because in many respects, that is not the appropriate place for them.
Very true.
Do you know, I got a question for you. Do you know where the largest mental health hospital is in the state of Texas?
Oh my God, I would love to know. No, I can't tell.
It's the Harris County Jail.
It's very good. Wow.
It's the Harris County Jail.
Wow.
If statistically, if you look, and there's been many studies out there, and it can be the studies show that defendants in the
I
criminal
should've-
justice system.
Should have known that. I live in Harris County. Should have known. Wow.
Well, and let's face it, 40 to 60% of the individuals in the county and the jail system have mental illness.
Yes.
Depending on the study you look at.
I agree.
And so something has to be done because a lot of these individuals who don't commit serious offenses, such in my situation where they're misdemeanors, they can be diverted to other existing resources
Yes.
around the state. And many of them are just locally in the county. We can put them in a local mental health hospital instead of the county jail,
Yes.
where potentially they just deteriorate
Yes.
and become worse.
Yes.
Well, if I can get them to a hospital and they can begin getting treatment that they need, well, we can change their life.
Absolutely. Well, I'm person-centered in CBT. If you need the services, I'll be more than happy to do that. But absolutely, this is great. Now comes the big question.
Okay.
It is Monday, and tomorrow is the big day.
Yes.
How are the nerves treating you right now? You seem very calm and composed, but tell me what's going on inside that brain of yours and heart.
Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous about tomorrow. I think anybody who is in this position has to have a little bit of nerves about them. Because it's really the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I've worked hard for the citizens of Fort Bend County. I do my best every single day. I try to bring my A game.
Yes.
Every day I come
Every
to court. But you don't know. The citizens of Fort Bend County, the voters of this county will make the ultimate decision.
How was the voter turnout, if I may ask, for our early voting voters?
Well, according to the Secretary of State and the numbers that are reported to the Secretary of State, voting turnout is down in Fort Bend County since 2018, if we're comparing it to another midterm.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, we had a huge day on Friday.
Yes. I
Over
remember.
27,000 people came out to vote on Friday.
Wow.
I expect Election Day
Yes.
to be the same and even greater. I'm not going to make a prediction of the number of voters, but it's going to exceed 27,000 people. I can promise you that.
So I'm going to ask you this. Have you decided where's the party? Where are we going to celebrate? What's going to happen? Are you prepared for that?
Yeah.
I want you to be prepared.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you too as well. So my mother, who is probably my second biggest cheerleader behind my wife, she asked me like 4 weeks ago. She goes, "Have you thought about what you're gonna do for election night?" I said, "Mom, I really haven't thought about that. I'm so focused on this election and trying to meet voters and just getting out there as much as I possibly can." I said, honestly, that's the last thing on my mind. So she goes, "Well, can I set it up? Can I go ahead and plan it for you?" Which she loves to do those things. So I said, "You know what? Go for it." I appreciate you and appreciate
Love
you
it.
be willing to do that.
I love that the family is standing by you, everyone, and this makes the whole difference. Like you are in there with your family, and this is beautiful, amazing. Any message that you would like to send out to our listeners right now?
Well, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Election Day, November 8th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Yes.
You can go to the Fort Bend County website and the elections page if you need to try to find your local polling location. There are 84 polls across the entire county. So there's a lot of them out there.
Yes.
Easy to find. In fact, I would say probably you can find one within a 5-mile radius of your home.
Great.
So please, please, please go vote. And I'm gonna have to ask this. I've been serving this county for 8 years now. I would love to continue to serve this
Yes.
county, and I'm asking the listeners of DeBang Radio who are living in Fort Bend County, I'm asking you for your vote.
This is great. Thank you so much on behalf of Radio Tabang, our CEO Mike Khan, our executive producer Tariq, and myself Shazia. Keep this empathy going. You are amazing, and we need judges like you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.